We need some protection from the Forest Service again. There's got to be some rules back in place, and there's got to be some oversight from the government. We can't have the fox guarding the hen house here like it is now. This little ranch here is a very productive place. I've never fertilized. We take what crop grows, and if it doesn't grow, well, we put up with it. But it's very productive land. This place has been here for 100 years. It's always survived, and now a little bit of logging is going to put it out of business for 30 years before the water flows will be back to normal again. And according to the government, that's perfectly acceptable because it's salvage logging. We had a little dam here and made a pond on the creek. It was full of rainbow trout up till last January 15th. This creek froze solid to the bottom. All the fish died. This creek goes about a quarter mile out of the place down here, goes underground for 5 miles before it gets to Big Creek. So it might be years before there's a big enough flood again for fish to actually get back up from Big Creek into this small stream to reestablish a trout population here. I think the reason that it froze solid is because Tulka went and logged 2 winters ago up here, and they put a side hill cut road for 2 or 3 miles up the creek below all the spruce swamps and the feeder streams that fed this little creek. And when that water comes down the mountain in the winter time, it's all exposed in cut blocks, and it comes to the surface in the ditches of the road and freezes in place, and there's no seepage to keep charging this creek for the winter. When the flow stopped, it froze solid to the bottom. Just the erosion from the bank this spring took out the end of this bridge. Now it's collapsed. From here down now the creek starts to flatten out. From up by the house to this point is 30-some feet of elevation drop. This is where all the sediment has been deposited now. From here down, it's filled the creek channel right full. There's no channel left. The water just goes through that fence and over into the field and then floods the bottom third of the place here because there's nowhere else for it to go. It's all flat land. It just spreads out and goes everywhere and winds up in the lower field down here being 3 feet of water. I've applied for a permit to dig this out to restore the channel. They tell me it's going to take 45 days to get the permit, and we should be cutting hay next week. So 45 days will put us into September. It's doubtful we'll even get any of this hay this year. The water all came at once off. You can see the cut block in the background. One of the cut blocks up on the mountain there. There's 4 more just like it. The melt all came. The water all arrived here hours later. Put this whole meadow under 3 feet of water for 5 weeks. I guess it started to dry up. Last week we had a thunderstorm. We got an inch of rain in an hour, and it put us right back to square one again. It all flooded back to what it was. This piece of ground right here, we farmed it up last fall, planning on reseeding this spring. It's never been dry enough to reseed it, so we won't get any crop here. And looking farther to the south down the meadow, there is grass there growing up through the water, but whether it gets dry enough to hay it this year or not remains to be seen.